We're loading and we're live. Hey, TJ here. Sunday afternoon. Anthony, how's it going? Dr. Duzzi to be.
Beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Everybody here in Arizona is all hyped up about the Cardinals Panthers game, and I'm hyped up about the Health Hacker Hangout. So yeah, it's going good.
Okay, it's so funny you just said that. So I had some friends text me wondering if I was interested to meet up for the AFC playoff tonight. And I was like, playoff? What playoff? I don't follow the NFL. I've never really been into the NFL.
Dude, me neither. I think that's why we're friends.
Right. And I told him I had a couple calls this afternoon and told him about the Health Hacker Hangout. So maybe, who knows, maybe they'll hop on while they're watching the game. Multitask.
Yeah. Fact. Let's get them on here.
Totally.
So what's the topic we want to cover today?
Yeah, there's a few things I'm excited to chat about. I think it'd be cool to like talk about what first off, I'm excited to talk about some wellness trends that I've kind of read that people are that the blogosphere is talking about right now, and so maybe we can talk about some of those and kind of how to distinguish and experiment with some of those if those are actually like good, healthy wellness trends to consider in your own life.
Yeah, love that.
So that I'm considering personally. I'm wondering where you're at with your nutrition. I'm experimenting. I'm considering experimenting with, and I mentioned this to you via text, ketogenic vegan approach or pescatarian approach, and potentially measuring it against blood work, or I might just be interested in seeing energy shifts as I take out ruminant animals and dairy byproducts in my diet, because I've never intentionally done that before, and I'd be curious to hear about your experience with that. And then I have a little surprise that we'll riff on at the end.
Surprise! All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those topics sound amazing, dude. Let's knock them off one at a time.
Yeah, but before we get started, I want to point out that this video is brought to you by Coca-Cola. As you can see, Coca-Cola is our lovely antique sponsor of today's Health Hacker Hangout. Now, you might not think Coca-Cola is a health hacker brand that we support. Well, but what Coca-Cola does represent is a story. And the story of what we might have been through earlier on in our life, and how we can evolve from that. These are old antique pans. I'm in my parents' house. I just touched down here in Des Moines a couple of days ago from LA. And we literally have like dozens of these. We have a collection all throughout our house.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And this guy right behind me, I mean, he's just like a nice looking chef, right? He's just kind of chilling.
He's chilling, shoulder forward.
So anyways, I did actually think on a side tangent, have you seen that Coke or maybe Pepsi or both are starting to use and promote stevia and or organic sugarcane in some of their drinks?
Yeah, I saw that. I actually shot a couple months ago a little TV show for ABC on that exact topic. Yeah, really interesting how they're starting to use more like erythritol and stevia as their little substitutes. So yeah, dude.
Interesting. So you did a video on it with ABC. Tell us. Let's chat about that real quick. Tell us about that. What do we know about that? I mean, with Coke,
people the skinny on stevia and what the deal is with that. We can take that quick detour. So stevia is cool. It's really interesting. Really interesting plant. It's actually in the sunflower family, and they've been using it in South America for like thousands of years. And it really stands for sweet leaf. Really cool. Doesn't raise your blood sugar. But I'm going to take this to like is the future to be Dr. Anthony Balduzzi pro or con stevia. I'm going to rank it above using full sugar sodas or diet sodas. It's a good thing. When you do have enough of these, stevia included in artificial sweeteners, it can cause some GI upset. A lot of people experience that. But more so, what I'm more passionate about talking about is understanding that as health hackers, we want to be very guarded on the kind of tastes that we allow to hit our palate regularly. And we even with things like stevia, like non-caloric natural sweeteners, we want to be careful not to do too much sweet stimulation on those tongue receptors all the time, because it retrains the kind of volume level of your sweetness perception. It's kind of like if you listen to music at like level 10 all the time, level 10 starts to become a level 5 over time. And you know what I'm trying to say? It creates like a feedback circuit where your taste receptors become less sensitive to the sweet taste, and you crave more. And even though stevia is like a non-caloric sweetener, even just the binding of the glucose-like molecules to some of the taste receptors on your tongue causes this cascade of neurochemistry that gets released that causes like reward-seeking behavior, and can cause you to overeat long-term. So the take-home is stevia is better than other things, but I still think as health hackers that we should, have a nice balance of not necessarily needing sweet all the time. I don't want to totally tangent on that, but yeah, stevia, they're doing it. And, I think for our sponsor, Coca-Cola, it's a beautiful step in the right direction.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to get in trouble, but you started it, so that's okay.
Totally. Well, you know what? Like I used to have, first off, thank you for sharing on that. It's really interesting. I want to dissect that in a second real quick, but I think it's, as we consider all the different players at hand within the overall food system, which impacts the health of our country. I mean, we have lobbyists in the government. We have large food companies. We have farmers, both large and small, local. We have and we have the grocery stores, farmers markets, and then we have the consumers themselves as individuals. But at the end of the day, like, when you start to see the larger companies starting to change certain products to kind of move with the movement, the health movement, the trends, and almost like at first, I used to have like extreme disregard for like McDonald's or any of those larger brand, McDonald's or Coca-Cola, like they're just evil, right? And that didn't I kind of grew and developed beyond that to kind of like release some of the hate, right? And as hard as it is to consider seeing some of the large companies as part of the solution, for example, Honest Tea, which is a conscious kind of company, recently was purchased, I think, by Coca-Cola, and there's
I was gonna say they're owned by Coke, right? Yeah,
right. And there's an article in a magazine called Conscious Company that recently profiled that, and the way they operate is pretty independent, so they still have autonomy. But so some people might think, oh, it's just a wolf in a sheep's clothing, sometimes, and it just requires like personal and intentional analysis on your own part to really do your own homework. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, yes, it's hard to trust like a company that can be a part of handcuffing our schools, forcing them to take their money to put their pop machines. And I mean, that's just pure sadness. But anyways, it's kind of humorous to kind of talk about today.
Totally. But overall, I think your point is genius and beautiful and enlightened. And I love it. And yeah, even these small nudges and these slightly better options on a large scale are providing massive value. So
totally. So to your point about like, we still don't want to necessarily, like, if I'm hearing you right, your point was that our taste buds and taste receptors, even if we shift from like away from normal glucose and sugar over to some sugar alternatives like stevia, erythritol, xylitol, that we can still become maybe a little bit dependent, and it can change the receptors in a way that we keep craving sweet things. And the idea would be to in life, like, not crave as much of the sweet or sugary things.
Totally. Yeah. And that's just our hardwired biology. Like, for our ancestors, when you encountered, and we're talking like ancient ancestors, when you encountered that sweet taste, that meant calorie rich food. You just found some berries, you found something that was ripe and bananas, and your brain is hardwired to release a shit ton of serotonin to get you all pumped up, to get you ready, and to create that strong neuroassociation that sugar is good, sugar is calories, sugar is survival. And if we keep on feeding this loop in the modern, area where we don't have food scarcity and we have an abundance of high calorie dense foods, it can create that vicious loop that as health hackers, we want to be conscious of. We just got to know that we have this hardwired biology, and we got to navigate with deft caution and with skill, right?
Definitely. Like down Periscope, deft caution.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I just watched Top Gun last night.
Beautiful movie.
Yeah, right?
I was a little Tom Cruise for Halloween this year.
You were not.
My buddy didn't want to be Goose, but I made him, because no one wants to be Goose. No one wants to be Goose.
Oh my gosh. Why? Because he dies, or because he's kind of
because he's not Tom Cruise. Everyone wants to be Tom Cruise. I mean, he's still killing it. How old is that guy? He's health hacking, dude. He is. Or Scientology. One of the two. We might be onto something. Anyways, back.
Oh, Cruise. Oh, let's get TC on here. So real quick on a tangent, I want to celebrate a quick win.
Let's do it.
I'd love to invite you to celebrate a win.
I'm celebrating right now. Let's do it
as well. Cool. So I had a drink. So I hardly drink alcohol anymore, right? Or it's much less than I used to. These last few years, after I ventured down to Miami and had a lot of fun down there, I've reduced my intake and become less dependent to have fun, and my tolerance has gone down, right? So this past Thursday and Friday, had literally no more than 2 drinks each night, and I'm just so sensitive now. And I had wine. Well, I had a neat bourbon, and then I had a glass of red wine, and woke up Saturday morning, just not feeling fresh, right? And Saturday I had plans with this girl last night. We're gonna watch a movie or have a bottle of wine. And so my win I want to celebrate is owning my truth and sharing that I was going to choose not to drink. And in the past, the old TJ, a year ago, I would have felt bad. I would have felt guilty for not doing something that the other person maybe was looking forward to, or that other people were doing, just for the purpose of pleasing them and not choosing myself.
Beautiful win. So subtly powerful. Love that.
Right? Yeah. And so I shared that with her, and she's like, I'm feeling the same thing. We don't need to drink it. So I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
It's great.
So that's a perfect example of some topics we talked about last week, is how do you stay in your truth amidst social situations, and in that way changing people just by the nature of you being you, than pushing and forcing. So that's beautiful. I mean, just the warranted side effect that you gave her permission to maybe make a similar decision. But that's beautiful, man. I love it.
And what's the value there that you think? I mean, I think of courage. I had a little fear, and then I met it with courage to overcome that.
Yes.
And I feel like courage can play such a big role in our ability to own our truth, like you said, as we talked about last week, and express it, not just own it, but express it with the people around us. So courage, man. Yeah. So anyways, your turn. What do you got, brother?
Wins this week. So one thing I've been working on a lot with my health, that I've been super consistent with this week, is healing some nagging sports injuries from years of being a combination of a very heavy, intense weightlifter and a desk jockey. Those two do not always work. Sitting 8 hours a day and trying to deadlift 600 pounds, stuff does not go well. But yeah, so I've been healing a nagging triceps tendonitis, and I know that, from my background, and this is the beautiful lesson too. I know the 15 or the 5 things I need to be doing to get this thing to heal, like eccentric exercise, using my infrared heat lamp with castor oil, you taking my fish oil, my curcumin, getting my sleep and getting my water. Know these 5 things. They don't always get done. But I got that's the thing, right? Knowledge versus application. And even coming from a guy who teaches this stuff for a living, doesn't always get done. So I got clear. I did an exercise last weekend after our last call on getting clear on the pain and pleasure of of actually executing on these habits, like the pain of future casting, what it would be like if Anthony continued to not get these things done. What's my tricep going to be like in 5 months, in a year? Boom, boom, boom. And creating more neuroassociation to not enjoying the current state I'm in and attaching massive pleasure to the healing. So this has helped me. And this is some stuff I've learned from Tony Robbins, Personal Power 2, but it's all just beautiful stuff. And I think the message that has come through for me this week is, health is a mental game. It really is. The execution is a mental game. And we got to learn how to condition ourselves to like things we want to have more of in our life. And, some people get hung up on the word pain, but for me, pain is a powerful tool to, drive you away from the state that you don't want to be towards your highest self. So that's been cool for me. Been super consistent with that. My tricep feels awesome this week. So gains are great, but more importantly, the process, reinforcing that process, you being in your truth with the wine, or the process of actually executing on those things you should be doing and getting clear on that why. So we talked about a little bit about that last week, but that's been a great win for me this week.
That's beautiful. So
cool, right?
Yeah. And you talked about how like even you as a teacher are not always like perfect with it. So I felt like a great sense of like openness and like authenticity. Like, this is me. Like, I'm not perfect. This is an example of what I'm working on. And kind of those 5 things you talked about, and how we can use the mind. I mean, health is a mental game.
Yeah.
And so the Tony Robbins thing, was that like a delayed, not gratification, but delay, like you want to avoid something in the future that will be bad?
So basically the premise of that is that Tony's kind of assumption is that our brains are hardwired to, seek pleasure in all things, be that personal growth, be that delicious food, be that more money, attractive partners, whatever that is, pleasure. But we're also, kind of conditioned to avoid pain. We hate being in painful situations. And sometimes we run away pain more than we do, chase that big dream or that pleasure. So understand these 2 levers that we have hardwired into our brain, we can use those to our advantage. So the things that we're currently at that we don't necessarily like, we can learn to attach massive pain to those things. And the idea is, hey, look, if you're stuck with any kind of thing and you're not getting the results you want and you're kind of feel stagnant, it's because your brain is not compelled to move away from enough pain. Like, the pain of change is greater than the pain of staying the same in this moment. So knowing that, you can attach more pain to the current present and kind of manufacture that pain, future cast it out there. Like, what's it going to be like if this continues to go this way? And then also create some pleasure on the other side. So you got a carrot and you got a stick.
Right. I was just going to say,
do this for yourself, which is beautiful. We're just kind of like, you're coming out of your head and you're able to like guide yourself on that horse to success by understanding basically how we're hardwired. So I nerd out on that stuff. It's beautiful. We're like, we have these programs and we can just use them to our advantage, and be that health, be that, anything, business success, life success, relationship success.
Like the book I'm finishing and needing to hammer out right now,
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. So you mentioned it's, well, I loved how you talked about how our higher self, and in a world that we live in around like self-improvement and biohacking and health hacking and all these different ways to improve the self and upgrade the self. That's a term that's being used. When you talk about highest self, I think that's a kind of a nice way to look at it, from like low self to big self, as opposed to, I feel like sometimes the self-improvement movement has a bit too much of an ego charge to it. And maybe that's my own shit that I'm bringing to the table. And I in general, so I'm just finishing, the reason I share this is I'm just finishing, Anthony, a very impactful book that I'm going to suggest people read on this video. I mean, I'm referencing it in my book, and it's called Self-Compassion: The Proven Power of Being Kind to Ourselves. And it profiles how over these last several decades, we've been on this just movement in our society of self-esteem. and the self-improvement movement, and as a means to be more positive psychology. And so what she invites us, Dr. Kristen Neff invites us to look at it as like we might need a little bit more self-compassion these days in a world where we're constantly comparing ourselves and trying to improve. Self-compassion could really be well served for all of us. And for the self-improvement movement to look at it a little differently, she invites us to look at it from like self-appreciation. So appreciating the self for what it's doing well at and what it maybe wants to get better at. It's a little bit of reframing, and she quotes like Mihai Mick.
Mihai Csikszentmihalyi.
Yeah,
everyone knows who he is.
No, it's Csikszentmihalyi.
Oh, that's what it is.
It's Csikszentmihalyi. I met someone that's friends with him, but anyways, the flow guy, right?
Flow guy.
So, and I wanted to talk about that because self-compassion's been on my heart a lot over the last few months, and it's so yeah.
And that ties back into that integration thing we talked about last week. Integrating, and that's what self-compassion really is. It's integrating the beautiful stuff about your present and accepting.
It is, and it's so, but when you said the mind thing, it's all mental health. Like health is such a mental game. Like I feel like it's a mental game, of course, and it's a heart game, and it's playing the two together. Of course, the mind is what is going to ultimately like delineate like a decision or a feeling from, right? And is gonna, that's how we process like thought and words, written or orally, but sometimes it can come from the source of the heart. So connecting the two, and your point about the carrot and the stick on your injury that you're working on the tricep, like I'm sure like do you give examples like that for your clients to like show that like you're not perfect?
All the time, for sure.
I bet they love that. I remember I wrote a huge like vulnerable post when I was in Miami about the lifestyle I was living and how I wasn't practicing what I was preaching, like, you know, partying too much and drinking too much, and maybe a little bit of ego that I fell into with modeling. A really long, vulnerable post. And a lot of my clients and friends comment, they're like, oh, this is really helpful to hear you share this, TJ, to know you're not perfect. Someone that, you know, is so, you know, sometimes it's nice to come off the pedestal and just be, hey, I'm inhuman, you know?
Dude, absolutely. Love it.
So let's riff. I want to get your thoughts on my exploration around making some changes to my diet. Dr. Duzzi to be. So for the record, Dr. Duz is not a doctor yet. He's a Dr. Duz to be.
Clear that up so I don't get in massive trouble. 5 months. 5 months and we can call it official.
Amen. And you'll be a naturopath doctor, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So we specialize in the beautiful stuff we're just about to talk about. Diet, prevention, lifestyle, wonderful, like optimizing, treating the cause. Yeah.
Amen, brother. So I think on our last call and today a little bit, you know, we talk about how, you know, sugar is bad, or we want to look to reduce sugar intake in our society. I mean, we're consuming too much, and there's awareness around that's growing. You know, there's a big fat summit going on right now. I'm not sure if you've seen. Hyman might be leading it, and then there's the Heal Your Gut Summit, and so I'm sure you've seen all these.
I'm actually on the Heal Your Gut Summit as a bonus.
You are.
Yeah, not as an interview. Yeah, so I love those guys. They're great.
Rad, man.
Dr. Z and Dr. Josh X. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So if one of the things that we're needing to debunk in our society is we talked a little bit last time about fat, nutrient fat, and so by debunking that, we're able to realize that okay, we can learn like the past of why we saw fat as bad, and then we can start to understand why it's good and how we make baby steps to increase fat and reduce sugar. Because when we're going to look to take sugar and carbohydrates out of our diet, we have to replace it with something, right? A different energy source. And so that's where fat can come into play. And so you and I both are, if I correct me if I'm wrong, generally like fans of like a moderate to higher healthy fat diet.
Yes, absolutely.
Correct. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, one of those types of diets, what it's called, is a ketogenic diet, is, as we both know, is a very popular. It's kind of growing in popularity right now as something for people to experiment with, which is high fat, low carb, moderate protein, and there's many different levels that we can tweak with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I'm exploring is the idea of doing a ketogenic diet, which I've experimented with, actually getting deep into ketosis before, which I haven't been of late. But sometimes you can just know and feel like when you're in some level of ketosis, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm considering experimenting with ketogenic diet, but taking out ruminant animals. So not full vegan, but maybe like pescatarian.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I just kind of want to like experiment it and change it up.
Cool.
And I'd love your thoughts, guidance, feedback on that. Have you ever done anything like that yourself?
Absolutely.
100%.
So I've done tons of runs of ketogenic diets.
Right.
I've done tons of runs of, I've never been full vegan, but I've been pescatarian, pesco-ovo vegetarian. I've never done both at the same time, which could be pretty fun.
What, pesc and keto?
Pesca ketos, yeah. That might catch.
I ran across this big keto blog.
Here first, huh?
I ran across this big keto blog, and they had like a vegan keto that they were talking about.
Okay, so I want to ask you a couple questions first. What are your reasons, CJ, for removing the ruminant animals?
So I am interested in testing, experimenting with like my energy levels and seeing if I can notice any sort of like difference in how I feel. Maybe my skin, and also interested in measuring potentially blood work. Although I know that can get expensive the more you measure that. I haven't had blood work in probably 8 or 9 months, and so last time I had the blood work was after like 6 months of experimenting with keto, and my cholesterol was climbing, which is a topic we can like break down in of itself right now. And so I'd just be interested to compare before and after, like a 30 to 60 to 90 day approach of like keto, pesky, vegan. Yeah. But I don't want to take butter out. I'm scared.
I'm scared. No. Yeah. You can replace it with MCT oil, right? You're just going to have so much MCT oil. But yeah, your bulletproof coffee, Dave's going to be upset.
He is. Dave's going to be
unfriended instantly. Damn. Okay.
What do you think? So you asked those questions. Okay. I mean,
okay. So put it this way. I'll give you kind of like, to answer your question, I'll give you some of like my background, bigger picture theories on diet. I don't think ketogenic diets are the best approach. And when I say ketogenic diet, I'm talking about traditional ketogenic diets with like under 30 grams of carbs a day, like very, very low carb. And there's people out there who don't like count macros or no carbs. Like that's like trace carbs. You're having no carbs. You just like, you get a carb right here from like some broccoli. You get a carb from like that little piece of protein. Like, you know, it's just like you basically nickel and dime your carbs, and you're basically just, your diet is probably 70% fat or 70% fat, 30% protein, if not lower. I mean, you can play with those numbers. And here's something fundamental about our neurochemistry and our brain hardwiring is our brains in all aspects, not just health, we're hardwired to look for scarcity, like scarce things in our environment. So it's not ironic when you're on a ketogenic diet, your brain does, and there's some time getting into ketosis and we can talk about that too, but your brain does start to seek and crave carbs. Not that it necessarily needs it from a physiologic standpoint, but any macronutrient you're restricting, be that protein, carbs, or fat, you kind of crave that thing. It's like off limits. It's a little taboo. Just like a low fat, high carb diet, you're going to crave like, you know, the butter or the almonds or the egg yolks. So from a long-term sustainability standpoint, a higher fat, moderate fat mixed diet usually yields best long-term sustainable results. It's pretty tough to stay on like a pure keto diet and live out in the world and actually eat at restaurants and not have long-term cravings
or anxiety
and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean it's a lot. It takes a lot of work to have an extreme diet. Extreme diet meaning one macronutrient is just jacked up way above the others, be that carbohydrates or be that fat in this instance. Ketogenic diets are amazing at reestablishing insulin sensitivity. So when you're overweight, and you're starting from a point where like, Anthony, I want to lose weight. It is beautiful to get on a very carb restricted diet to reestablish those conditions for insulin sensitivity. And there's a lot of things, carb restriction, exercise, green tea, fenugreek. There's a lot of like things we can do to reestablish insulin sensitivity, but ketogenic diet being one of those main movers. But here's the thing. If you're exercising regularly and once your body is insulin sensitive, feeding carbs at the right times improves performance, brain, physically, whatever. Like we can take advantage of the nutrient partitioning effects of exercise and give carbs post-workout. And those carb receptors, those GLUT4 receptors on your fat cells, endocytose, the ones on the muscle cells come up and your muscles are sucking in the carbs. And you're still getting, there's a big misnomer of like ketosis is this black and white kind of thing. You're either in ketosis or you're out of ketosis. Right. Not how it works. Our bodies are making ketones 24/7. I mean, it's a matter of how many ketones are being made, but it's something our brains do, is along with gluconeogenesis, ketosis. We're doing all this at once. So I'm stoked. I love experiments. I'd love to see how you feel. And I'm pumped for you to do this. It'll be cool. And I mean, the blood work doesn't lie. It's cool to track that, traditional labs. This is just something interesting for people out there. I don't know if it's available in your state, but Theranos has been in the press a lot. New lab testing company. They use different techniques, little blood. There's some question on like the validity of—
Did they buy Wellness FX?
Maybe. I know they're in all the Walgreens and their testing is like 1/4 of the price of normal blood work testing. And it's fairly reliable. Like in clinic with patients, we do side-by-side runs of traditional lab work through like LabCorp, Sonora Quest, and Theranos. And it correlates pretty dang well on your normal markers, like your lipids, your CBC, your CMP. Some tests are off, but for the most part, it's like 1/4 of the price. So you can, track. When we have cash-based patients that come in and don't have insurance, we use Theranos. So for people out there who want to hack it up, you can go to Walgreens to get drawn at Theranos and at least get some metrics, and use that as a yardstick. But back to the keto stuff.
Yeah, because I've done Wellness FX before.
Okay.
Which they contract out blood work with local labs, Quest Diagnostics. So my last blood work, which I got in an advanced heart panel.
Yeah.
So, it looked at particle size,
LDLPs. Yeah, that's a good lipid panel right there.
Totally. So, the fluffiness versus the denseness.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, all my numbers were great. I mean, except what looked bad was my LDL was high. It was like 190. Mm-hmm. And my total was like 290. Mm-hmm. But all the ratios that they suggest to have on, I mean, my tris were super low. My CRP was super low. 0.2. Like, so I would just be interested in comparing the cholesterol, and I guess I'm wondering, like, should I have any fear, like if I have a little bit of a hyper, the familial higher cholesterol. If my fluffiness is good, and people that might be watching this later don't know about, we'll maybe link to, like, if all those like specific like individual components are good, but the LDL is still high and the inflammation's fine and tris are fine, then like, should I have something to worry about ever? Or
yeah, so like the safe answer is can't give you medical advice as much as I love you, buddy.
No, I know, but like
can
you speak to that yourself? Like, have you done anything?
Yeah, I mean, there are familial markers like lipoprotein A and stuff like that when are high, maybe should be of concern and looking into if someone has like those kind of markers, it might not be, hey, let's necessarily run a ketogenic diet. But yeah, I mean, dude, experiment, rerun the blood work.
Totally.
I don't think you're going to kill yourself in 30 days. And if you are, I'll take over the health hangout. I'll take it from here, guys. Don't worry about it. Not as cool.
I'll send you the code
trace. Jokes, almost as much content. And I'll have to find a less suitable substitute, but we'll miss you.
Oh geez, we'd have to do a funeral, a health hack.
I would Skype into the funeral. Yeah, definitely.
Oh geez. Oh man. Okay. Cool.
Back on topic.
Yeah, back on topic. So we'll close here in the next 5 minutes, but yeah. So you think would 30 days be enough time to?
You know what would be cool? I think a great marker for you to track. That would be a useful marker, not just for you, but for anybody looking to maybe extrapolate the effects of this diet for their own health is that the long-term glycation markers like HbA1c, which is like one of those main markers we use to track, blood sugar levels that are, basically glycosylated hemoglobin. Like how's your blood sugar look like from a long-term standpoint? And that's
one of the most important markers for a diabetic patient to know.
Exactly. That's pretty much, you can diagnose based off diabetes straight up off HbA1c, right? So 3 months is typically the minimum we see moves in that number. So I don't know, man. I mean, my intuition says it'd be cool to do a 3-month run. It'd be cool to do a 3-month run to be able to like see HbA1c move, because for people out there who are overweight or maybe have pre-diabetes, like that's one of the number one markers we want to see improvement on. So if you can say, hey, at least this is what happened to that number for me, and you can retest like in 3 months, that would be more useful for me, in my opinion, clinically speaking, than 30 days. So
maybe do like a 30 to 60 to 90 breakdown.
That'd be sweet, man. Yeah. That'd be really cool.
I've never fully done anything like openly changing like to the public or like, hey, this is what I'm doing, like, and document everything.
Mm-hmm.
Never gotten that documented with it.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm interested in that. I might need some accountability on that. I don't know. I don't know. It'd be since you're not a doc yet, you can't formally, but that's fine. You know what I mean? Like we'll just keep riffing on it, and that's what I'll do. I'll track my. I'll probably start it in February, and February, March. Do at least February and March, and it's been on my heart because the last few girls that I've talked with or dated, if you will, haven't eaten much animal meat. I mean, they've eaten some fish. And so anyways, bio-individuality, but there's just a sign like, TJ, maybe just.
Yeah. If the intuition is pulling you that way, that's beautiful. Give it a shot. Another thing that I think is like a not well understood concept, in terms of like a lot of people stop eating meat for 3 reasons I have to say. The one is, there's the social animal cruelty thing, which is a legitimate, beautiful issue. And people who object on that, like, that's amazing, and then there's the people who do continue to eat meat and buy sustainably sourced, grass-fed, free range cattle from Montana. And that's awesome. I support that too. But there's the ethics standpoint. 2, there's the animal protein cancer risk, which I want to kind of zone in on, because a lot of it, I mean, the bio-individuality, we can get into that. People have different SNPs, which is these single nucleotide polymorphisms that change how we process different foods. But one of the biggest issues that people don't talk about is the heat and the temperature at which we cook these foods. Because with animal proteins, at high heat, they get denatured. And these proteins that are normally folded beautifully get all like mangled up, and they form these things called heterocyclic amines. And that just basically means a protein that gets messed up by high heat. And those are the things that are chiefly cancerous. So old school traditional, like I'm a traditional foodist at heart. Like I like slow cooked bone broth stews on low temperature for like 50 days. Like that low heat kind of cooking doesn't form these heterocyclic amines and these polyaromatic hydrocarbons that are cancerous. So if someone's out there and be like, well, is meat bad for cancer? Can't fully say yes or no for you, but do know that low heat is typically better when it comes to your meats. Like the char on that steak that we all love, that's where you get into some problems. So yeah, I think you should pull the meat, man. It's gonna be a fun experiment, but also know that temperature has to do a lot has a lot to do with the health effects of a particular thing. And the same thing with carbs. You know, those advanced glycation end products that form when we caramelize and burn the toast, the crust on that toast that gets all caramel, and we like that. That's just, you know, it's the same equivalent for carbs.
Yeah, so yeah. I'm just getting a hard on listening to you all talk all this science, man.
I'm just dropping as many acronyms as I can.
Boom.
We go with a bang.
Boom to bang. Yeah. Love it. Cool. All right, so that's something I'm going to be working on, and we'll report back next week on the research. This week is the research that I'm going to be doing to kind of do a little prep for it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what you see. Teach me some stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. And then what about you? What about you, man? I know we got to close here in about 30 seconds, but what do you want to work on this coming week?
This week, okay. So one of my main habits that was like one of the biggest needle movers that helped me a lot, that I started when I was bodybuilding, were 24-hour weekly fasts, dinner to dinner. And I want to talk about fasting because I love fasting. It's so freaking important, and no one does it. And we're definitely talking about fasting. So I just want to get you to do your happy dance right before we're about to cut out here.
Well, we can do it. We can talk fasting on a different call too. But
yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. I just want to get you pumped for fasting at a future call, because that's something we got to talk about because it's amazing. But I stopped doing 24-hour weekly fasts maybe through the holidays. I just kind of fell off track with that habit. So I'll be reporting back with results from my reintroduction of a 24-hour dinner to dinner fast.
0 calories.
0, just green tea, water, no calories. Yeah, so dinner to dinner. So I'd have dinner tonight, fast until dinner tomorrow. Pretty doable.
Yeah, for doable. Sure. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I did a modified 24-hour these last 24 hours, and had bone broth to start it off.
Oh, cool.
At my sister's. Yeah.
Nice, dude. All right, you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's why you look so glowing and vivacious.
Oh no, it's the winter reflection off the snow, man.
Yeah, it's the snowmageddon that's outside your door.
Jeez. Oh man. Okay, cool. Well, to end it, I just wanted to, do a little surprise, as I was telling you about.
Oh yeah, the surprise. I forgot about it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So we're talking about how we want to use our health as improving our performance in life. And yes, you're seeing a knife. Cut you.
I'm surprised.
And so, and we're talking about healthy fats and reducing sugars, and I wanted to not shave my beard, but really quickly celebrate the avocado. One of the wellness trends that is coming down the pipeline currently is whoa, it's out of nowhere, guacamole. And the health benefits of avocado specifically. Mm-hmm. And if everyone can recall the famous Steve Jobs and his campaign Think Different, mm-hmm. Well, I want to invite people to not hold an apple in front of you and ask you to think different. I want to take that a step further and invite you to hold an avocado next to you and reduce those sugars, increase those healthy fats, and feel different. Not just think different, but feel different.
Beautiful. Public health announcement from TJ. Yeah, if we switch the avocado a day keeps the doctor away, I mean, that would literally work.
Dude, for sure. Duzzi. Dr. Duzzi the Bee. That's your new brand, man.
Avocado a day keeps Dr. Duzzi away?
Yeah, and totally. And although Dr. Duzzi would be like, wait, I don't want to keep away. How am I going to make money? Business model is shifting.
Yeah, so just keep eating your apples, people. Keep eating those apples.
Yes.
That's a beautiful avocado. Yeah.
Right? And it's, if people don't know how to cut it, it's really quite simple. Just go straight down the line. And my favorite part, which scares little people sometimes, is when I take the pit out. I eat, yes, I do eat the pit.
Amazing fiber. Goes right through.
Yeah.
Oh, you do the ninja move.
I do the ninja move, and then I go like this. And then
TJ's gonna eat this, and we'll see. He'll tell us if he poops it out by next week.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun, Tony. Only on Health Hacker Hangouts. Anthony, Dr. Duzzi the Bee. Great chatting, man.
Great chatting, you, buddy. I'll see you next week.
Much love.
Peace.
Peace.